Okay, the next phase of the debate permits the candidates to ask questions of each other. I think that, what was the last question that was asked? I forget whose turn it is to go first, but why don't you start? Ask George a question.
Okay. George, I'd like to ask you, with your background as the leader of your party, the Democratic Party, as your role as the leader of the Democrats in the Senate, as a long-time career politician in Hartford who presided over the largest budget increase in the history of the state, what is it that you would point voters to in your background to reassure them that you really mean what you say when you say you'll cut costs, depoliticize the office, and not use it for political purposes or political gain?
Well, I actually worked very closely with my Republican counterparts and with Governor Rowland when I was Senate Majority Leader. I instituted a practice of meeting with Republican leadership and the governor's office prior to any legislative session to go over in detail every piece of legislation that we were going to consider that week. And that way we were able to iron out any differences between us that were technical in nature and to understand exactly where they were coming from and where we would be coming from. And it actually made the legislature work far more efficiently in terms of if you compare the amount of time that was spent in session compared to the preceding 2 years. So I've always had strong working relationships with the other party, and I remain personal friends to this day with a wide range of Republican leaders around the state. You don't have to be personal about politics. You can disagree respectfully without personalizing it. And so I would continue on that bent. As I mentioned earlier, I have not hesitated to oppose constituencies in the Democratic Party like organized labor. I also have not hesitated to oppose the mainstream of my party where I thought it was the right thing to do. For example, I failed at it at first, the first try, but I was strongly in agreement with Governor Rowland that the sheriff system needed to be abolished as a patronage, a whole of patronage, and instead replace it with a much more professional approach to government. So I'm a proud Democrat. I stand for democratic things most of the time, but when I think my party's wrong, I'm not afraid to say so.
30 seconds.
So is it my understanding that you were meeting with the Republican governor and other Republicans just to work out the details of what you were doing to create the largest budget and spending increase in the history of the state? And if that's true, wow, now we know why we have to throw out all of the bums.
No.
Come on, quiet.
No,
okay, Attorney Jepsen, it's your turn to ask a question.
This has already been covered in part, but you have criticized Richard Blumenthal's activism as Attorney General, even though you're willing to support a federal lawsuit against the new federal health care legislation. Would you have supported Attorney General Blumenthal's efforts in such areas as the tobacco litigation, which you've already said no, keeping child predators off of social networking sites, or cleaning up pollution from coal-burning plants from out of state?
Child predators, absolutely. I mean, this is a very serious issue. I need to look at the Connecticut laws on this issue to make sure that it's within the scope of the office. It has been my argument from day one that this Attorney General has not been activist. Activist is energetic. Activist is, pursuing the state's interests vigorously, and I admire that about our current Attorney General. I'm energetic. I pursue my client's interests vigorously and will work for the state vigorously. But when you say activist and you mean going outside the role of the Attorney General's office, I will not do that. So there may be some things that I would like to do. For example, this idea of pursuing the child predators and keeping them off. Provided it's within the scope of the office, I would do that. I think it's very important. If it's not, just because I believe in doing that, I would not step into that role.
You have 30 seconds.
Well, he had no formal regulatory authority on that issue, but he worked with attorneys general from around the country to put public pressure on the social networking sites to voluntarily change what they did. So it was outside of the scope of his formal duties. I find it ironic that Martha has said that she wants to sue